Dungeon of the Endless is a unforgiving, cooperative, top-down, roguelike tower defense game where the players are trying to escape a dungeon world which their ship has crash-landed upon. Players choose one of several characters to traverse these dungeon floors with a large crystal salvaged from the downed ship in tow. This crystal, which is powered by a mysterious material referred to as dust, acts as a power source for the defensive network of towers constructed by players. To escape the hostile dungeon world, players must open doors on each floor to find the exit point which will bring them through the depths. But it's not that simple. Once the players have found the exit point, they have to escort their crystal to the exit point to power the next floor. If all players die or the crystal itself is destroyed, then the game is over and all progress is lost. There are 4 different resource types in Dungeon of the Endless: industry, science, food, and dust. Dust allows you to power up rooms, which prevents monsters from spawning in that room and allows you to build on open slots in these rooms. Additionally, the dust the players have accumulated over the current floor acts as the main crystal's health pool. So the more dust players collect, the more damage the crystal can take before they lose the game. Industry can be spent to build resource towers or defenses in a powered room. Science can be spent to research better towers and defenses or completely new buildings altogether. Food can be spent to level up characters, heal injured characters, or hire a new character. Occasionally, a vendor or shop can be discovered that allows you to spend one of these 4 resources to buy new gear to improve your character. You may also sell your current gear to these vendors in exchange for that same resource. Players have to make buildings and rooms around the ruins to prevent the onslaught of enemies from destroying their crystal. Defenses can come in the forms of turrets to damage enemies, holograms to distract enemies, or neurostun devices to slow down enemies in a room. You can also create certain towers that will add to your production, science, or food for each room that you open. While traversing through these rooms, players can find various events in different rooms such as chests, science researchers, production pods, and more. Within chests, characters can find upgrades to their current gear such as better guns or armors which change your stats in different ways. Researchers allow you to upgrade your production towers, defenses, or research a new type of tower altogether, provided you have enough science to pay for the new equipment. There are also certain resource pods scattered through the dungeons which allow the player to make a gamble to get more resources or risk a metaphorical death, which ultimately equates to the loss of all construction slots within that room, severely hampering the defense network of the players. After leveling up a character, players will see an increase in their general stats with a chance of a new ability or an additional skill. Abilities are passive and can be used during or outside of combat to give temporary boosts to various character stats. These abilities can range from damage modifiers to resource production boosts or even party bonuses. Another way to make upgrades to characters is through their armor, weapon, and equipment. Each piece of gear can add or take away to any stat on a player's character, so it's important to keep note of which stat matters most to you. Gear can also add a skill to the character. For instance, one piece of armor increases the character's health pool by 100 HP, but will add a skill that causes all enemies in a room to target them before any other player in that room. This causes players to carefully think about what gear they want equipped prior to engagements. In combat, players can move their characters to any room and station them to defend against the oncoming waves, which are prompted by the opening of new doors on that floor of the dungeon. The only thing players can control on their characters is their movement and the activating abilities if they have any. The characters will auto-target the enemies that travel in the room and attack enemies without prompting. In essence, player characters act as a mobile defensive turret. If your characters become low on health, you can heal them for a set amount of food. If a player's health pool is depleted, that character is lost forever. However, there are other characters that can be found on the journey that can replace that now empty slot if you have the food to hire them. Enemies in Dungeon of the Endless range from hulking brutes to lightning-fast shadows. In regards to functionality, enemies can be broken into 4 general categories: enemies that just attack your crystal, enemies that just attack your characters, enemies that attack towers that you built, and enemies that attack everything in their path. As you slowly approach the 13th floor, the enemies in the game progressively get more difficult, whether by their health pool increasing or a sudden influx of more threatening enemies beginning to spawn. These enemies can only spawn in rooms that are not powered by the crystal, which can be changed by the player at any time. They can spawn 2 different ways: groups in a single dark room, waves of enemies coming from several dark rooms scattered across the floor, or a combination of both. This leads to a need for preparation in every possible direction enemies can come from, leading to a more difficult experience for the players. The audio in the game does an excellent job of matching the current pace of the run. Between the waves, we experience a calmer-paced reprise resembling a calm before a storm. When there is a wave coming, the music quickly changes to a faster-paced music that makes the players panic at the coming forces. The visuals in the game are nice. The pixel art presented is fitting to the theme and experience of the game as a whole. They aren't revolutionary graphics, but they work quite nicely for this style of game. In conclusion, Dungeon of the Endless is a cooperative survival game that combines tower defense and RPG roguelike elements into a truly unique and engaging title that challenges players to both manage their forces in real time and a grand scheme of defense. The game's combination of real-time and turn-based strategy via the waves, floors, and doors of the dungeon gives it a distinctive and engaging style. In general, the game was quite enjoyable to play, although at times it seemed stressful to the point that we had to take a step back from it for a few months. That being said, we recommend it to anyone that is looking for a game that presents a challenge. We personally never exceeded the base difficulty.